You're welcome to NC Exclusive on News Central. I'm Tolulope, Adeleru-Balogun. The events of October last year remain in many people's minds in Nigeria and also across the continent. The hashtag End Sars protest brought out thousands of young Nigerians with one aim: the end of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad under the Nigerian police. 1 year later, what did the protest gain? 1 year later, did their aims end up being achieved? 1 year later, are there any lessons learned for young Nigerians as they continue to strive for a better country? Today, we're speaking to one of the young people who may not have been the leader, but has become known as one of the faces of the movement. I have joining me Rinu Oduola, and we're going to go through how she feels 1 year after the End Sars protest. Rinu, thank you so much for joining us on NC Exclusive. Welcome.
Thank you very much, News Central.
So let's just start with this. A lot of people have maybe different motivations and reasons for them showing up to the protest. What brought you out to the protest last year?
Well, for me, I have been, very, very vocal regarding what brought me out for the protest. I grew among people who were fixated on survival, people who didn't have hopes of a next day meal. And to know that these very people had little hopes of getting back home with their lives intact. Living in Nigeria, at the very least, is heartbreaking. I'm an average Nigerian, a part of an often overlooked demographic who struggle for comfort. And coming from a marginalized community, I know we can all remember Tina Ezekwe, who died in May, who was shot by a drunk SARS officer, actually. I knew that it could have been me. My family would have been in Tina's shoes, Tina parents' shoes, with no access to justice. And then, there was this strong obligation for me to help. I mean, the cases that police brutality, especially among young people, embodied is simply our rights to existence, the vulnerability of young people at the hands of criminal police officers. How more than often young people always end up becoming victims in Nigeria, and the failed system where there's no access to justice or good health care. And how we just wanted, for me, all I just wanted was an end to the senseless killings of young people in Nigeria, because it could have been me. So particularly for me, it was about survival, the fact that I did not want to become a victim.
So one of the things that really sort of put everybody together was the 5 for 5, the demands that the protesters said that they had. Let me quickly run through that. Immediate release of all arrested protesters, because at that point in time, protesters were being arrested. Justice for all deceased victims of police brutality and appropriate compensation for their families. Setting up of an independent body to oversee the investigation and prosecution of all reports of police misconduct. In line with the new Police Act, psychological evaluation and retraining to be confirmed by an independent body of all disbanded SARS officers before they can be redeployed, and increase police salaries so they are adequately compensated for protecting lives and property of citizens. When you look at this scorecard, it doesn't seem that there's been much that's been achieved from this particular scorecard. Let's say we might have gotten the judicial panels that were set up and some compensation for a few others, but there are still some protesters, according to reports, that are still being held. We also have not necessarily an increase in police salary, and I don't think anybody has seen the psychological evaluation. Do you think the demands that were met were the right demands to be made?
Well, it's funny when we talk about the 5 for 5 demands that after 11 months, close to 12 months, with the threat of fresh protests now that we're approaching, the 20th of October, fearing the anger of the Nigerian citizenry, the National Economic Council hurriedly issued out some recommendation. Was it 2-3 days ago? And this showcases that the Nigerian state is merely reactive and not proactive. If young people did not come out on the streets, would these recommendations have been issued? The Nigerian state does not see the need to improve policing systems in the country, and that is a fact. I always like to say that the Nigerian state benefits from the indignity of Nigerians, and that is why police brutality is still rampant in the country. Let us talk about the panels. There have been many panels that have been set up even before last year, October 2020. what was the result, or where were the implementations from those panels? I'm going to ask the audience, have you noticed any improvement in the way the Nigerian policemen treat or handle civil relations and relationships with members of the public since last year? The way the Nigerian police handle civilian relationships is disgraceful. It's blatantly shameful. The only thing they are fed of is the media. They feared to get into the media, and they found a way around this, which is by threatening young people not to record them, or threatening young people not to report any criminal acts of theirs on social media, or else they would kill them. Let's talk about the panels. What are the implementations from this panel? What exactly does the Nigerian state expect from the Nigerian citizens after 1 year and the police brutality is still on the increase? We're talking about the panels, and like I said earlier, there have been many reports, many recommendations from so many panels. There was a presidential panel last time, even before the judicial panels this time around. Where are the implementations from those panels? Like I said earlier, the Nigerian state does not have the political will to implement the recommendations, even the few ones made by the various state panels of inquiry, because they are benefiting from the dignity of the Nigerian citizenry.
So let me ask you then, with thousands of young Nigerians and even older Nigerians that came out for the protest over several days, would you then say the protests were successful? Were there any achievements from the protest?
For me, I'd like to say that young Nigerians poured their passion, their hope, their need, the desire to see change in Nigeria. They poured it into the protest. Even those that were not young, even the older generation that joined in the protest, also joining to pour everything that they ever wanted to change. I mean, during the protest, the young Nigerians that participated in the protest made us see that Nigeria can actually work if only people are willing. They made us see that a new Nigeria, a better Nigeria that we've been clamoring for decades is actually possible. And with that, with their hopes, the world saw them. The world felt the despair of young Nigerians. I mean, basically average Nigerians, and their pain of being victims of police brutality each day, each second. I mean, just last month, reports that I know of, over 10 young people were killed extrajudicially by police officers across Nigeria. And that is just the reports that got to social media. What about those that didn't get to social media? So going back to the participation of people in the last year End Sars protest, they poured their anger and they made the world hear them. I mean, the whole world almost stopped to a halt and looked at what was happening in Nigeria, because like you know, and I know, this is not the first time that End Sars will be trending in Nigeria. And this is not the first time. Last year was not even the start of the End Sars protest or the End Sars movement. So started back since 2016, where average Nigerians have been calling out for an end to this unit. And it was until young Nigerians finally had to come out on the streets that the Nigerian state felt like moving, that they felt like doing something about it. I'll reiterate, the Nigerian state benefits from the dignity of their young Nigerians. And that is why they do not have any political will, even up to this moment, to end police brutality.
So let me follow up with that, because there was a lot of conversation after the protest that this was going to galvanize young Nigerians to sort of form not necessarily a political party, but a political movement to put their issues forefront, to put their issues dead and center of the conversations in Nigeria. And for many people, that necessarily has not happened. Are you one of those who believe that this was a turning point for young Nigerians beyond the protest into more active political participation, into more active participation in the social in the social life of Nigeria, and that really didn't happen? How did you feel about that?
Well, to answer the question, for a very long time, young Nigerians have looked for safe spaces to participate, to become active community citizens in their own nation. Our participation in policy, in governance has remained unsatisfactory. However, with the End Sars protest last year, I think we are changing the dialogue. And for us to come out to demand for change fearlessly in the spaces that are available to us, even though we've been tagged names like keyboard warriors, lazy people, the generation that cannot stand up for themselves, that social media generations. I'd like to believe that young Nigerians showed everybody else that we were never lazy. It's just that opportunities to excel have always been withheld from us. It's not as if we're scared. We're just afraid of dying, like we were shot last year. Many young people were still shot for simply demanding that police stop killing them. So for me, like I said earlier, young Nigerians work together to showcase a new work in Nigeria, and this is what they can do. However, we should ask ourselves today, what safe spaces are available for young people? When we talk about physical spaces, young Nigerians cannot go out on the streets to protest anymore because of the fear of being shot at. They cannot even walk peacefully in their own nations because they are being extorted daily by criminals in police uniform stationed across the nation, extorting them of thousands of naira per day. I say with all confidence that the average Nigerian police officer at a road point end up to an average of $1,000 per day. They are extorting several young people. So what safe spaces are available on the streets? We cannot walk on the streets for fear of armed robbers, for fear of police officers, for fear of kidnappers. We cannot even farm because of fear of Fulani headsmen or whatever. We cannot go. There are no physical safe spaces. Now let's talk about the digital safe spaces available for young people today. What digital safe spaces are available any longer? Talk about social media. It's being gagged because the Nigerian state simply woke up and wished it into existence. Even the traditional media is being gagged because now if you dare broadcast anything that the Nigerian state is not like, they're going to sanction you. So what safe spaces are available for young people to participate? That is what I would like the Nigerian audience to ask themselves. It is until there are safe spaces that young people can participate without fear, without trauma. A lot of young people are still dealing with the trauma of last year, of coming out on the streets and being shot at for demanding that police officers stop killing them. And that still happened. The Nigerian military operatives still want to shoot at people. So these people that are dealing with trauma, unavailability of safe spaces, how do we expect them to become active community citizens?
Let me ask you about that. You bring up the conversation around the situation at the toll gate on October 20th. What do you say to those people who believe that there was no Nigerian killed, that there was no massacre, as some have termed it? What do you say to those people?
For me, I'd start from the fact that the Nigerian state, after the End Sars protest, launched a dedicated gaslighting campaign on the End Sars movement. And even those that participated with all their soul and mind in the End Sars movement, we began to doubt our own sanity. But today, I'm going to say one thing that is particularly clear, which I came to the realization that the Nigerian state is scared. The Nigerian state is afraid. The Nigerian state is afraid of young people that united and came together, putting aside religious differences, putting aside tribal differences, to come together as one to demand for survival. The Nigerian state is afraid of that passion that the Nigerian young people showed during the movement, that this was a different entirely movement. And the Nigerian state is afraid of a working nation, of that new Nigeria, where there will no longer be corruption and impunity, and all forms of unaccountability will disappear. So like I said, the Nigerian state is afraid. And that is why they launched the gaslighting campaign. I like to ask my person this question: why are we doubting our own sanity? Why are we doubting the fact that Nigeria is on a roller coaster and it's killing young people each day by day? Why are we doubting the fact that the Nigerian state would not rise up to attack the young people that wanted to take change and bring it to every forms of the nation? During the protest, Nigerian young people provided ambulances, provided cleaning. They did so many things that even the Nigerian state, I'm just going to end with, Nigerian state is afraid. And that is why they will keep denying what happened during the protests.
Unfortunately, because of time, I have to leave it there. But we've heard you, and I think a lot of young people and a lot of Nigerians, as well as Africans, have heard you as well. Rinu, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much, Nusrat.
The events leading up to October 2020 remain indelible in the minds of many and continue to raise conversation, controversy, and questions. Many say that protesters have questions and the Nigerian state also has questions to answer. And we'll continue looking for those answers right here on News Central. I'm Tolulope Adeleru-Balogun.